The United Democratic Front is marking 40 years since it was founded. The UDF is calling on the youth as well as their organizations to organize and simply prepare for a better future. The party says while it helped to release the energy of young people and workers, millions of other people are still faced with poverty, joblessness and crime in the country. So how is the organization marking this milestone? Well, let's speak to now Professor Brian Nakedi, who's the UDF's Free State Provincial Coordinator, and joins us now via our video link. Prof, it's lovely to see you. Thanks so much indeed for making time. You know, the UDF was founded in a very different political environment, and so much has changed since then. And what I find is that we're pretty good at describing what's gone so horribly wrong, but I'm sure you'll agree that's barely a solution. So I wonder, 40 years down the line, what you reckon the role of the UDF becomes?
So this is the 40th anniversary of the United Democratic Front, which was formed in 1983 on the 20th of August in Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain, at Rocklands, and circumstances then were very grim in terms of the environment of the apartheid, system and so on. Now we almost 30 years into a democratic dispensation. As we celebrate the UDF, what we hope to achieve is to go beyond just the celebration and begin to resuscitate, particularly the Free State chapter, peoples of Organs Power, and engage in practical action plans such as the cleaning of schools, cleaning of areas around us, of amenities and so on, halls, sports facilities, and ensure that we really begin to feed into the local democracy so that people can begin to speak for themselves at the level of ward committees, inform their budgetary priorities in terms of their local service delivery, identified issues and so on. So we want people to become active in their own democratic project and ensure that as they become active, they are also able to hold us accountable in terms of service delivery.
Yeah, naturally, as you mark this milestone, many people will be reflecting on the UDF's track record. Those who speak about the formation's time pre-1994 say a big part of the success of the UDF came from the single-mindedness, this very clear objective, which was to end apartheid. I wonder whether you reckon there is still that clarity of mind post-1994, given the myriad of challenges that the country is facing, many of them which I've just mentioned.
See, the struggle for freedom has been a very long process, and we would agree, all of us, that we haven't as yet achieved all the social and economic objectives, including cultural and political realization of our own, trajectory. So amongst other issues that we would want to highlight, for an example, would be, today we have a meeting in Bloemfontein in Mangaung, where we are going to be engaging on issues, how to mobilize communities around our own historical issues. We have planned to have a very big event on the 18th of July, Mandela Day, around Paradise Hall in Bloemfontein, to really go and clean up that hall, because on the 22nd, the UDF Free State chapter and the Ex-Political Prisoners Association in the Free State are embarking on a very huge activity at Paradise Hall in Bloemfontein to really highlight the plight of the ex-political detainees and also connect that to the celebration of the UDF in its 40th anniversary, so that we can begin to really engage people so that they do not feel sorry for themselves, but they take these matters into their own hands in a more organized fashion in terms of defending not only the constitutional democracy, but the important values of non-racialism and non-sexism going forward, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you speak of people perhaps feeling helpless. I put it to you that many actually are disillusioned. They've somewhat given up. And commentators are telling us that that's not obviously just an indictment on the governing ANC and the ways through which they've failed, but it's also an indictment on the alternatives to the governing party, maybe even the UDF.
We have observed a deep sense of disenchantment amongst our communities, and there is a clear disconnect from engaging with issues. So we would like particularly our youth to be really resuscitated from that sense of discontent and begin to engage with issues that affect them, so they can start with themselves assuming the responsibility of activism and leadership, and invest in their programs so they could become better leaders for the future within our democratic structures.
Yeah. A character that some people might attach to the UDF was this kind of decentralized leadership structure. And there's a very heated debate now about whether or not the country needs to have some kind of electoral reform for there to be more meaningful democratization that takes place in South Africa. I wonder whether the formation has an opinion on that, whether the way we are even doing politics at the moment is working.
So those are policy debates that we'll be engaged with. The focus now is on celebrating the anniversary of the United Democratic Front in its 40th anniversary, and linking that to local community activism at all levels. As you would appreciate, during the UDF time, we had different regions. For an example, in the Free State here, we always had the North and the Southern Free State, but working together, from one provincial boundary. So our emphasis really is on conscientizing South Africans of their civic duties and responsibilities. As you would understand and appreciate, that apartheid system has been very much a nationalist project that affected our people from the countryside and the urban centers, including those who really were forced to dwell in the hostels and so on. And amongst other things, you would find that the divide and rule tactic has been to use such structures created by apartheid to actually ensure that we are put really asunder. So we'd like to reconnect with the consciousness of our people, and also ensure that as we do that, we become practical. You would see at our schools, for an example, the school governing bodies are there, but you still have schools that call themselves parallel mediums, but actually being African school, where they would offer you, English parallel and Afrikaans, but the classes are not of equal importance and so on in terms of numbers.
Sure.
So we'd like to really bring about these issues into the fore, so the governing structures can also begin to really see and appreciate that the communities are taking these issues in terms of their constitutional rights up to their structures.
All right, I hear you, but to bring us back to my question, are you saying the UDF does not have a position on this, whether or not we need electoral reform?
Electoral reforms, it's something that is being engaged with. There is a debate about that, and there are various expressions about it. We are in the process of debating issues such as electoral reform, and I think the national structure is better, positioned to express on that at a later level when the discussions have been concluded.
All right, the UDF's Free State Provincial Coordinator is Professor Brian Nakedi. Thanks for your time, sir. I really do appreciate it. The UDF marking 40 years since its formation.